To your knowledge, sir, were mission specialists ever paid?
I don't know.
So were you offered an opportunity to take a dive on the Titan?
Many times.
And did you take a dive on the Titan?
No, but
That's the Oceangate co-founder testifying before the Coast Guard. And that is probably the biggest whopper of the entire hearing, is he was asked, have you ever dived in the Titan? Answer, no. He never, ever dived in the Titan. And of course he was happy that other people dived in the Titan, just not him.
I got nightmares in my head, I fear thoughts build up until I can't feel that my mind fills up into a creature and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. I got nightmares in my head, I fear.
Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science, the most authentic voice in true crime. Well, it has been pretty astonishing testimony today from the co-founder who didn't actually attend the trial. He did sort of attend virtually, I think via Skype. You actually see a guitar on his left. You see 3 pictures of Venus. That's his next mission. That's the next thing that he really is promoting. But let's listen to him, the extended version of where he answers why he never dived with his own sort of baby with the Titan submersible. Why not?
So were you offered an opportunity to take a dive on the Titan?
many times.
And did you take a dive on the Titan?
No, but two thoughts on that. One is every year that Titan went to Titanic, Stockton would always call me before we went to see if I wanted to go. He wanted me there. Even if I was just on surface ops, I didn't have to go on a dive. I didn't, as a shareholder, I didn't want to take up room in the sub. I wanted to make that available for the people that the dive was intended for. And I never went on any of the expeditions. But the reason I didn't go is because neither Stockton nor I were ever driven by tourism. We were never motivated by going somewhere that people had already been before. Well, the reason we got into this was because we both wanted to explore. We wanted to not only explore ourselves, but create the technologies that would allow other explorers to explore the ocean. So going to see a shipwreck that had already been well documented and that a bunch of people had already gone to, that didn't excite me. It didn't excite Stockton. So I never really had a desire to go on any of the expeditions. And I wanted to make room on the sub for people like Renata, who that was their life dream, to go to the Titanic. Well, great, let her go. I don't have to go.
Let her go. I don't have to go. I had no desire to go down to the Titanic, and yet that was really the main focus of Oceangate in its twilight years. But let them go. I don't want to go. I have no desire to go. And he even includes Stockton there, where he says that wasn't really what Stockton was interested in either. And I think Stockton said the same thing himself, that he wasn't really particularly interested in the Titanic. But he did know, and he did say that the 3 most popular words in the English language and other languages are God, Coca-Cola, and Titanic. And he seemed to be very aware of that.
The Titanic expeditions. Now, for diving Titan in particular, I will tell you this. Before the first crewed test dive of Titan, the first time that anybody was in the sub when Titan went down to 4,000 meters, as you already know, that dive was done by Stockton by himself. And he and I talked a month or 2 before he went down there. And he was telling me that it was finally time to actually take Titan on a test dive. And I believe that was Titan 1, the first hull. And And he said, basically, he was telling me it's time to put a human in there, and we're going to do the test dive. And I said, well, I'm assuming you're going to pilot it. And he says, yeah, I'm piloting it. I said, great. Who else is going with you? And he said, nobody. I said, what do you mean nobody? He goes, I don't want anybody else in the sub. If anything happens, I want it to only impact me. It's my design. I believe in it. I trust it, but I don't want to risk anybody else. And I'm going to go by myself. Now, I've been on long dives before, and I know making a long dive by yourself, especially a test dive, is not a fun activity. And so my response to him at the time, I kind of felt like I was reliving the graduation scene from the original Top Gun. I felt like the character Viper. I kind of told him the same thing Viper told Maverick. I said, look, you're going to go by yourself, but if you get down there and you feel that you need a co-pilot, give me a call and I'll dive with you. And he said, thanks, I appreciate it, but I think I'm going to have to do this one by myself.
So you mentioned long dives. Are you referring to dives in submersibles to the deep ocean depths of approximately 3,000 meters?
No. You mean from my personal experience?
Yes, sir.
No. I think the deepest I ever dove was with Antipodes, 300 meters. But one thing that we did as a test dive in Miami, we always said that Antipodes carried 8 to 10 hours of life support and consumables, in addition to the 72 hours of emergency life support. But one of the things that we realized is our average duration of our dives was only like 2.5 hours. We were never really down. I think the longest dive we did was like 3 hours, maybe 4 hours. And the rationale for that was, it gets uncomfortable after a while to be in the sub that long. And so there was no reason to really make anybody uncomfortable. And so we never really dove that long. But one of the things that we thought about while we were in Miami is, look, if we're going to keep saying that the sub can dive for 8 to 10 hours, we should dive it for 8 to 10 hours and test the limits of it. So we did create a dive plan where me and one of the other sub pilots and our research director at the time, where the three of us went in the sub and we dove it for 8 hours. I think the deepest we went was like 800 feet. But 8 hours was more than enough time for me as far as staying in a sub. And I was there with 2 other people. I can't imagine being in a sub that long by yourself the way Jim Cameron was when he went down to Challenger Deep.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So definitely somewhat unconventional testimony, especially that bit about Top Gun. When I first watched this testimony, I couldn't help feeling that there was a sense of exceptionalism in his testimony, just in what is going on, especially with that guitar in the background. And you may or may not know that it's his vision to take people to Venus. Now, after the success of Titan and the visits to the Titanic, are you lining up for a ticket to take part in his journey? And I wonder whether he plans to go to Venus himself, if he'll be the test pilot. Would you want to be his wingman? I'm not going to take it further than that. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.